The episode centers on one of the most infamous murder investigations in British history, but its ending makes it clear that The Witness is not simply a crime story. It's a story about trauma, memory, and the devastating consequences of a police force desperate to find answers. From Rachel Nichols' brutal murder on Wimbledon Common to the arrest of Colin Stagg, the episode follows both the official investigation and the emotional aftermath experienced by Rachel's son, Alex, and his father, Andre. By the time the episode ends, the mystery appears closer to being solved, but several warning signs suggest that the investigation may be heading down a dangerous path. Throughout the episode, investigators struggle with the frustrating lack of evidence. They have no murder weapon, no fingerprints, and only a handful of conflicting witness statements. The one person who may have seen everything is Alex, but he's only 2 years old when the murder happens. Much of the episode focuses on whether Alex remembers anything at all. While some adults assume he's too young to provide useful information, others believe the trauma is still buried inside him. His violent reactions during therapy sessions suggest he remembers far more than he can express. The breakthrough comes when Andre takes Alex back to Wimbledon Common. During a carefully guided conversation, Alex unexpectedly references Batman. At first, the adults think he's speaking randomly, but Andre realizes Alex is describing a utility belt worn by the killer. That small detail changes the entire investigation. For the first time, detectives can connect Alex's memory to independent witness statements. The Batman description helps create a more accurate suspect profile and ultimately leads police toward Colin Stagg. The ending suggests that Alex's memories are reliable, but it also raises an important question. How much pressure should investigators place on a traumatized child witness? Once the police focus on Colin Stagg, everything seems to fit. He matches the physical description. He was known to visit Wimbledon Common. He fits Professor Britton's psychological profile of a socially isolated man with disturbing fantasies. Witnesses place him near the crime scene, and his unusual interests make him appear suspicious to investigators. From the detective's perspective, Stagg looks exactly like the kind of man capable of committing a crime. But the ending reveals a major problem. Despite all the suspicion, police still cannot prove he murdered Rachel. When Stagg is released due to insufficient evidence, Andre's faith in the investigation collapses. After spending much of the episode building Stagg up as the likely killer, the story suddenly reminds us that suspicion is not proof. His release becomes one of the most important moments of the episode because it exposes the weakness of the case against him. The final scenes introduce what will become one of the most controversial parts of the real-life investigation. Detective Keith refuses to accept Stagg's release. Convinced they have the right man, he turns to Professor Britton for a new strategy. Together, they discuss creating an undercover female persona who can form a relationship with Stagg and potentially persuade him to reveal violent fantasies or even confess. The plan is presented as a last desperate attempt to catch a dangerous killer before he strikes again. However, the dark tone of the ending suggests something more troubling. Instead of following evidence wherever it leads, investigators appear increasingly determined to prove Stagg's guilt, regardless of whether they can actually establish it. The operation signals a shift away from traditional detective work and towards psychological manipulation. While the murder investigation drives the plot, the emotional heart of the episode belongs to Andre and Alex. Andre spends most of the story trying to protect his son, while grieving Rachel. He's forced to become both parents overnight while dealing with police interviews, media harassment, and public scrutiny. At the same time, Alex grows up carrying a trauma he barely understands. The scenes set years later show how deeply the murder continues to affect them. Alex wants to remember his mother as a loving parent, not as a victim. Andre, meanwhile, remains trapped by the need for answers and justice. Their arguments are rarely about food, memories, or police interviews. Underneath everything lies the same question: how do you move forward after something so horrific? The episode never gives them an easy answer. The ending of The Witness Episode 1 is designed to make us uncomfortable. On the surface, the investigation appears to be progressing. Alex provides a breakthrough description, witnesses come forward, Colin Stagg is identified and arrested. Yet, every apparent victory quickly falls apart. The evidence remains weak, the suspect is released, the media pressure continues, Andre and Alex remain emotionally scarred, and the police begin considering increasingly questionable tactics to secure a conviction. Rather than ending with hope, the episode ends with uncertainty. The final moments suggest that the real danger may not only be the unknown killer still at large, but also an investigation becoming so desperate for answers that it risks losing sight of justice itself. As the music darkens and the undercover operation begins to take shape, The witness makes one thing clear: the search for Rachel Nichols' killer is far from over, and the choices made next will have consequences that last for years.